It is a pleasure to be here. Hope you guys had a great weekend. And we are here live at the Four Corners Project Studio in Beit Shemesh, Israel, or at least part of us in Beit Shemesh, Israel. And today's guest, special guest, ladies and gentlemen, special guest. Every show I open up by saying, we are joined by our associate producer, Judy Herzfeld from Clifton, New Jersey. Well, today we really are joined by our associate producer from Clifton, New Jersey, Judy Herzfeld, as she has come on to be one of the interviews of Lenny Solomon Live Show 194. Hope you're doing great. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you so much, Lenny. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Now, I want you to know that this is, the first time we've ever done anything like this in terms of interviewing a non-band member per se, but you are a crucial part to Schlock Rock, to the Four Corners Project, to the Lenny Solomon projects, to Daniel in Babylon, and you are a very important piece in our entire organization. So we're going to get a little bit into what makes Judy Herzfeld tick. And let's start off, as I do with every person that I interview, is here it's Tampa Bay Lightning Day. You can see our Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. We will be you come from Florida. You come from South Florida, not North Florida, South Florida.
Yes.
And tell the audience a little bit about how you became Judy Herzfeld and how you got to Passaic or Clifton, New Jersey.
Okay, you got it. I did grow up for the first 18 years in Southeast Florida. That's Miami Beach area and Bay Harbor specifically. And I went up to University of Michigan, which that whole trip there was a blessing. It was my start of my spiritual journey. I started learning Torah out of, I would say a chumash of some sort. And from the start, and I fell in love with learning Torah, even though I was not yet observant. And I actually got introduced, thank God, to Chabad instead of pursuing Eastern religions because I was interested in mysticism. My mother introduced me to a Chabad rabbi in Bal Harbor, Florida, that is now very well known, Rabbi Lipsker from the Shul of Bal Harbor, and that is what inspired me to pursue Torah observant Judaism. And I went through several Chabads from Michigan to actually Rabbi Friedman in his Beis Chana Institute in Minnesota. I ended up going to, actually that's where I got my introduction to Jewish music. The first Jewish music album was Avraham Fried's No Jew Will Be Left Behind.
Wow.
He is Rabbi
Very
Friedman's
impressive.
brother. Yes, Avraham Fried is Rabbi Friedman's brother. And
Right.
that was my start. And I have to tell everyone, I will be happy to say that the first song I really fell in love with was The Return. It's on that album. And it was all about my going on the journey of a Baal Tshuva. So that was very important to me. So that was my first Jewish album. Avraham Fried, I became a groupie of. I actually moved up to New York to go to grad school in social work. Thank God I looked up Chabad, was the first thing I did when I got there, and it was very beshert. There was a Chabad just blocks away, and that's where I met my husband. So I did eventually become observant. It took a few years, but I started listening to Nachum Siegel's network at that point when I was first in New York. And I've been a fan ever since of Nachum Siegel Network. That's where I've gotten most of my Jewish music from. That's where I used to listen to Schlock Rock for the first time. And,
That's unbelievable. So we got Florida to Michigan,
yes.
Michigan to Minnesota. Did you actually live in Minnesota?
No, Minnesota was a very brief stop. I was there for a week, at most 2 weeks. That's the program.
That's one cold place. Cold place, Michigan and Minnesota.
And I was there in December or January, actually January, for a brief program for Baal Tshuvas that wanted to learn Tanya and be introduced to Yiddishkeit. So that was really my first learning experience.
Wow.
There
So
in St. Paul, Minnesota, is where the Beis Chana Institute is. Rabbi
yes,
Gomerman is, I believe, still running programs. But yes, I went down to Florida for a bit, and then thank God I applied to school in New York, and that's where I ended up staying in New York, New
that's
Jersey.
unbelievable. So I want you to know that we have done shows in Minnesota, of course. We've done shows in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We've done shows in Michigan. Not Ann Arbor though. I never got to Ann Arbor, which is where you went to school, right? Michigan is
Right.
Ann Arbor.
Yes,
So
correct.
we played, of course, Detroit, Southfield, and
Hmm.
Oak Park, and all that stuff. Farmington Hills, we played in Michigan. But I will tell you that it is cold out there. It is cold in Michigan. It is cold in Minnesota. In Minnesota, it was minus 60 with the wind chill going to shul. So I would say that it's a good thing you didn't stay in Minnesota.
No.
But although New York is cold in the winter too,
Yes.
here in Beit Shemesh, we have 10 months pretty much of summer. We only have like 2 months of winter, and that's probably either January or February or March, depending on what the what's it called? What the calendar is when the Hebrew months break out. So okay, so here you are now. You're in New York. You meet your husband and you get married.
I did. I got married in Israel. That was a story in
Whoa!
itself because
Wow!
I became observant through Chabad. So my mother said, "Oh, she'd probably like to get married at 770." And then my mom said, "What would be better than 770?" As you can see, the kotel behind me.
Yeah.
Um, what would be better is being married at the kotel. So my mother made the arrangements. Thank God, my grandfather had a help in starting and founding the Dan Hotels. That's a very special story as well. And my grandfather Max Orovitz helped start the Dan Hotels, which includes the King David. So
Wow.
my mother made the connections, and we got married across from the hotel. We were on a balcony. It doesn't really exist anymore, but it was a low, closer balcony to the middle of the hotel than exists right now. And it was beautiful, Baruch Hashem. We had a dinner at the King David. It was, a small reception, but it was plenty. It was plenty.
Amazing. Okay, so now let's fast forward because we've got to get to the Shlachra connection
Yes,
because there
yes,
is a Shlachra connection.
yes.
Now, somewhere down the road, you start hearing Shlachra. Now, when did this happen?
So I can tell you, as I said, I was listening to Nachum Siegel Network. That's how I got my Jewish music. And I can tell you very clearly, Nachum Siegel was interviewing Yossi. Yossi was managing hotel programs, kosher hotel programs. So Nachum Siegel gets the credit. First, let me backtrack. I saw Lenny twice at Camp Shalom and at the Y in
Right,
Clifton.
Camp Shalom in Passaic. I remember that.
In
Yeah.
Clifton, Passaic Clifton, I came up to Lenny to tell him that how much I enjoyed Into the Sea. He asked me if
Right.
it inspired me. And that was my first hello to Lenny. The second hello was when he did a concert again at the Y in Clifton, and I asked him to sign my greatest hits to CD. Or I'm sorry, was it a CD? It was a CD at that point, right?
I
Not a
don't
cassette.
remember.
And
I,
so
I don't even remember the Camp Shalom meetings, frankly.
it's okay. Of course you wouldn't. So I
But
ended up hearing Nachum convince Yossi to have a Schlock Rock weekend at his hotel at Kutcher's. And I will tell
oh,
you,
this is right. This is Yossi Zablocki. This is Yossi
Yossi
Zablocki.
Zablocki,
Right.
Nachum suggested to him you do a Schlock Rock weekend, and he took him up on that suggestion. And in August of 2012, my mother offered to send me and my husband to a kosher hotel for our 25th anniversary. And sure enough, Lenny was playing that weekend
That's
of our
right.
anniversary.
That's right. And not only was I doing a concert on Saturday night, I did also a Beatles Kabbalat Shabbat.
Exactly. It was a full weekend. Yes.
Yeah, and it was really nice.
I
Um, and then we did a show Saturday night, which Ethan Bill and Steve Bill played with
That's
me.
right. That's right.
And I think
And
Shlomi Ash was there too, wasn't
yes, I
Shlomi
was
Ash?
just gonna say Shlomi Ash was
Yeah.
there being the photographer.
Well, he wasn't the
taking
photographer. He just was the. I don't know what he was, but
he
he was
was
up there.
taking photos the
Even though he
entire
was,
time.
well, he was taking photos, but he was
Yes.
really the advertising person.
Okay.
In other words, that's what he does for
Okay.
these places.
Okay.
Excellent. So
So
okay,
that's
so
how I
and that was
really,
where we met, and that's my first recollection of meeting you, Judy,
yeah,
at that event.
yes.
And it was a really fun show,
Uh,
and from there somehow we start talking, and you your career. I'm gonna call it a career, even though it hasn't yet become a career that we could say.
He's not professional,
Well, it is
not
professional.
exactly a
It's just not
professional, but
it's just not making well, we don't want to talk about that. But so let's just talk about it. Jewish music is what you live for. I mean, you love Jewish music.
so can I give a plug first? Because before I met you,
Plug away.
actually, before I became a huge schlock rock fan, there was a offer that you made. I thought it was brilliant. You were offering for your 25th anniversary two songs every, I don't know how often, online, and you were
Yeah,
offering, and you put out two CDs, two albums. You
right,
put out Kosher Cake,
right,
and you put out Not Still Not Quite on Broadway.
right.
And I will tell you that those, first of all, of course, the Beatles album was the first I listened to probably over and over again, was
That
on
was
Friday.
2011. That was the one right before that, or
Okay, so on
2010.
Friday
Yeah,
afternoons, I would be listening while I prepared Shabbos to a Shabbat in Liverpool. So that was the start. But I will tell you that there were two songs I listened to over and over again from Still Not Quite on Broadway, and that was Supplying Charity
from
and
Wicked. Yeah,
God Hand Is Complete. I
from
thought
Hairspray.
I thought
Yeah,
those were amazing songs I listened to so
yeah.
frequently,
The
as
second
well
Broadway
as
album is just a brilliant album. I
yeah,
love that album. I mean, look, they're all, I have, they're all favorites of mine. People always say, "What's your favorite? What's your
right,
biggest favorite?"
right,
So the truth is, they're all favorites of mine. I love every
right.
song, most of every song. I mean, sometimes there's a song I like less than others, but that album, the Still Not Quite on Broadway album, has such unbelievable writing in it and such unbelievable
Yes.
production with Hanan Elias and Abraham Burke, myself, Mark Smilowitz, and those are the four singers on God's Hand Is Complete.
Ah,
Um,
okay. And also
uh,
there was a couple of others. I'm sorry, I don't have the album in front of me. I don't want to misquote some of the songs, but there were a couple of others. Like you said, it was brilliant. So that really is where I got my start as a real schlock rock fan. And the Kosher Cake also was very interesting. I think that was the one that did half. Is that the one that did half classic rock and half pop
yes,
parody?
yes, yeah.
So that was
Kosher Cake has
oh,
got, yes, it's got 5 or 6 current songs,
you're right.
and or four, more like 4 current songs and 8 classic rock songs, I think, because we've got the Smoke from the Altar.
So that's what I
With,
wanted to tell you, Smoke from the Altar. I loved it because I was a classic rock fan. And
right,
that I was a classic rock fan before I became a full Jewish music fan. And I told you that. That's what I told you when I first met you at Kutcher's. I said that song was very special to me. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that as well.
it
So
is
those
really.
two, that was a great album promotion idea, and I that's what led me to then becoming I just started collecting the full library. And I agree with you, your offer to get the full library at such a great discount. There is so much music you've produced over so
Yes,
many
over
years.
500 songs. It's
and
true.
and all of your music, I want to say to anyone that questions schlock rock music, all of Lenny's music is just related to Torah and Yiddishkeit. And that's what inspired me to become such a Jewish music fan and a schlock rock fan, is because I was learning Torah and I was learning about Yiddishkeit while I listened to all of Lenny's music. And that
It's
was so important to
unbelievable.
me as a Baal Tshuva. So I really appreciated schlock
And
rock
this
for
is
that
and
reason.
this is why it's important to have you on, because we always hear from the band and what an impact Schlag Rock had on them.
Right.
But as a fan turned promoter,
Promote.
it had an effect on you as well. a
Yes.
tremendous effect on you. Now, believe it or not, we're already 15 minutes into this interview. And you
Okay.
know what we haven't done? We haven't done
Paperwork.
plugging. Paperwork.
Okay.
So let's just do the paperwork. First thing is,
Okay.
and you can chime in. If we're watching from Facebook, we have 4 different Facebook pages you can watch it on. Lenny Solomon English, Lenny Solomon Hebrew, Schlock Rock page, or the Four Corners Project page. If you're watching from there, make sure you leave good comments, leave thumbs ups, and stuff, and so on and so forth. If you're watching from the 2 YouTube channels, either the Schlock Rock YouTube channel or the Four Corners Project YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe, leave a thumbs up, leave a good comment. If you're watching from Twitter, at Lenny Solomon, retweet, and you can comment as well. And if you're watching from LinkedIn, we get people commenting from LinkedIn all the time. Sometimes the LinkedIn, I'm not actually seeing any comments coming in yet today, but which is kind of a little bit unusual. But sometimes Restreamed, it doesn't work on the spot, and you could only go in afterwards and see what people wrote, which is what happens every once in a while. But anyway, if you're watching from LinkedIn, make sure you let us know, and of course, be in touch that way. Now, the most important thing is that this is the 194th show since I started doing this in June of 2020, and the Four Corners Project is the sponsor. And I'd like to ask all the people out there, and Judy, you can chime in as well, and everybody out there who watches this show, and we've had already over 150,000 views in our 194 shows. We're averaging around 820 views per show. Might be a little more. I don't know. I haven't done the numbers lately.
Amazing.
But the point is that this organization, the Four Corners Project, is so important because it gives people a love for their heritage, a love for who they are, and spreads Jewish pride, identity, and awareness through music, through informal Jewish education, teaching without knowing you're learning. That's the most important thing. And we would like to ask you all to go to www.4cornersproject.org. It's right on your screen, and just press donate and make a nice donation, whatever you want, to keep this organization going and keep us going, so we can keep giving you shows, interviews, music, webisodes, new albums. I'm in the middle of working on 3 albums at the same time. Who ever heard of such a thing? Only Springsteen and I do this.
Can I chime in now when you're
Okay, sorry, I've been talking too much.
No, I want to support what you're saying. I want to let people know that after becoming a big Jewish music fan through Schlock Rock and then others afterwards, I was always sensitive to the fact that being in the music business is not an easy way to make a livelihood. And I always felt the need to help musicians, to help singers as much as I could, to get their music out there and to get attention so that they could hopefully make a livelihood in what they, in what they're doing and doing what they love. So Lenny works so hard. He's been producing albums. Schlock Rock itself, what are we going on now? We're on 30 years?
Oh, no, 36. Schlock Rock is 36 years old already.
Okay, yeah. So 30, I'm not doing the math, but Lenny's been making albums for decades. He's been going on the road for decades.
Yeah.
And it costs money. Everything costs money. Going on the road and making albums, the recordings and everyone that's behind it, and videos. You just see there's everyone involved needs to make a parnasa. So this is what Lenny's doing. He's providing us concerts on a weekly basis. We're getting concerts, we're getting interviews, and this is how he's doing his work right now, in addition to recording these albums he's doing. So I ask everyone to support Lenny at the Four Corners Project. And the blessing is that Lenny set up this organization with the suggestion of a special friend, and he set it up to be a tax-deductible organization.
Right.
So you
That's
can
right.
you can support Lenny, and you can donate from your Meister money. You can, it's tax-deductible. It's going towards promoting Jewish music and Torah. So I am fully supportive of everyone supporting Lenny and helping him continue in making music for us and
Thank you
providing
very
these
much.
shows for us.
Thank you very much, Judy. Okay, let's get back. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's
to
get back to continue the interview. Okay, so here we are. Now, you were involved in, of course, coming to some albums, which we were making. Ethan Bill was the engineer, and you came to that. You also
Yes.
were involved
Yes.
in music video, which we could show a little bit of,
Okay.
just to show the people. You're in the Trust in God interview. Should we show
Right.
music video? Should we show that video?
I know that some of your fans have seen it recently. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you
So
showed
you know what?
it
We're not
recently.
going to show it. We're not going to show it.
But I will tell you, I appreciate you and Ethan Bill allowing me to join you in studio because I was, thank God I got to enjoy a lot of recordings there through Nachum Siegel's network, did their first halftime, kosher halftime show.
Right.
So that was beautiful. And what was wonderful was being there for some of the recording of Daniel in Babylon, which is such a gorgeous soundtrack, such a wonderful,
Well,
uh,
hopefully we'll have some
wonderful.
great news shortly about that. We'll have some great
Okay.
news that we have funded and we are going to be, but not yet, but we're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Okay. Please,
So,
God, because that, like Lenny, that was Lenny's dream. That's been my dream to see that on stage. But I'll just tell you, getting to meet one of the main singer, Daniel, who did the singing, that was very
Chandler, right?
special.
Chandler
Chandler
played
Mogul.
Daniel in the original soundtrack.
Yes,
Yes.
and it was just a really enjoyable experience, as well as thank God, like you said, I've been there for a couple of
You've
other.
also met the director choreographer of this
I
project,
I
Kate
have.
Cole. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So let's get back now to Judy
Okay,
Herzfeld though for a while, and for the last 10 minutes of our interview,
okay, great.
and talk about, because I personally want to know when you started out promoting, because you promote, and you don't only promote schlock rock, you don't only promote Lenny Solomon, you have artists that you love,
Yeah,
that they are starting out and they are struggling, and you, as an act of chesed, as an act of good, of kindness, you let the DJs, the Jewish DJs all over the world, know about new music, about their songs. I know I found out about new artists through you. Yoni, what I forgot his last name. Yoni.
Yoni Z is, thank God he's not. I mean Yoni Eliav.
Yes, Yoni
There's a
Eliav,
couple of
the one who always has the funk,
yes.
That's great
Yoni.
stuff.
Okay, so it's true I've become a fan of so many. So I really try to promote all of the musicians, all of the singers that I enjoy, and especially the ones like you said that are lesser known because I feel like it's important to get their music out there, to get their name out there. So I try to try to give everyone as much as I can who I really enjoy attention. So Yoni Eliav, for everyone to know, he's an Israel-based band. He is the most upbeat rocking band that I've come across, and he provides these records funk medleys every couple of years.
Amazing music. I want you to know, you go to YouTube and you put in Yoni Eliav and the Funk Band or something like that. I don't even
It's
know what it's
Yoni
called.
Eliav Band, and you put in funk medley. The first one's 2014, but I became a fan. I'll tell you the connection. I became a fan of Yoni Eliav with Funk Medley 2016. I was so I was so impressed. Now, how did
Yeah.
I find out about Yoni Eliav and Funk Medley 2016? Is because of Micha Gomerman. So let me, if you don't mind mentioning, after Lenny Solomon and Schlock Rock, Micha Gomerman was the next artist that I became a
Right, and he
fan
lives
of.
in Brazil. He
He
lives in
lives in Sao
Brazil.
Paulo, Brazil, originally from Rio de Janeiro. And how did I get introduced to Micha's music is because of Yossi Zweig. So Yossi Zweig's Top 9 at 9 contest show is really what made me turned me into a promoter of Jewish music because his show introduced me to Micha's music on June 23rd of 2015, and Micha's song, it's the first track on his second album, and Rat Simcha, and that just became number one. And I'm like, how did Micha become number one so fast on Yossi Zweig's show? It's because he has so many fans in Brazil. So I became a promoter of Micha's songs on his second album, and I would reach out to listeners in Brazil and write to them in Portuguese on Facebook to
Really?
get them to vote for Micha's music on the 9 at 9. So that really is what
Unbelievable.
got that's what got me a start in promoting music as an amateur. And then that led to Eitan Freilich. Eitan Freilich is a singer
Right,
in
and he's
London.
London. He's a London musician.
And he said to me, okay, when I put out my music up, I hope you'll promote me as well. So I became friends with Eitan by promoting him, and his first album was Am Yisrael Chai, and he has a second and a third now. And I ended up, because of my friendship with Eitan, who's such a nice guy, I went to London twice. I went to London to see Eitan's first big concert. That was a benefit concert for Camp Simcha UK. And then I invited myself to Eitan's wedding later that year because I really wanted to be there to witness him and Gabriella getting married. So those were two trips
That's
to London
I know, I
unexpectedly.
know. I remember when you took those trips to London. Okay,
So
so that I mean, it's really unbelievable. So like these artists and you start promoting them, and of course you've promoted me. Now I'm going to do something off the cuff. This is what we're going to do. I'm
okay.
going to mention 5 different ways to promote, and I want you to say a couple of words or a couple of minutes about them and how important they are. Are you ready? Here we go. Instagram.
That's what's getting me the most views. Instagram, I had my own page when I got started at Judy Herzfeld, but I ended up, after wanting to promote so much, I was, if I can just throw this in there, I was helping a radio station, a smaller station, promote and program their music. And after I left that station, I wanted to continue promoting. So I started my own Jewish music page just specifically for Jewish music. So it's Judy's Jewish Music.
Right, so that's
Um,
your Instagram handle, Judy's
and
Jewish Music.
I have
For
now, I'm
everybody out
very,
there that want to follow Judy, get the latest in music, that's where you go, Judy's Jewish Music.
and I'm very happy that, thank God, I just got 500 followers on that page that since I started it, and that's where I, thank God, I do the most promoting. I think on Instagram, on that and my other page, and also it allows you to do stories, which are up for 24 hours, and that
Right.
allows you to, probably get more. You get more views even that way. Is on these stories. So very big fan of Instagram. It's been great.
Okay,
Yes.
next one. You ready?
Yes.
TikTok. Do you do anything with TikTok at all?
I actually only started a little bit because I just my
No,
classic
because
rock
really it's my kids that do TikTok.
my
My
classic rock I used to be a classic rock fan. So when Meatloaf passed, there was a number of things I thought were so special that I was hearing in interviews that I wanted to share. So I chose TikTok. Truth is that you should know, and I'm sure you know, that in the secular music world, TikTok has made stars out of people that no one knew, and all of a sudden through TikTok they put on their music and they become huge music
and,
stars in the
and that,
secular world.
it's unbelievable. You're right.
Yes.
Okay, you ready? Next
Ready.
thing I'm going to throw at you. Do you ever use Google Analytics?
No, I have not started with that. I don't even
So
know
that
about
I've
Google.
heard that that's a good thing to do. In other words, because
Okay.
let's take something like this Lenny Solomon live show. Do you know that we can find out who, where were people, where were people when they were watching the show, how long they stayed on the show? I don't know how to do this yet,
Really?
but
Really?
I think it's important. Somebody told me
Wow.
that we really need to use Google Analytics to find out where the people watch because we have 820
Okay.
people watching a show every single show. We have to find out where are they watching from,
Very
right?
good. Very
Okay,
good.
and the last two are the basic ones, Facebook, of course,
Yes. And Twitter.
and YouTube. Actually, Twitter I
Oh,
didn't
not
even have on here.
you're not
Twitter.
mentioning Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
let's talk about Twitter first. Tell
Okay.
me.
I was gonna say to you, Facebook was all I had in the beginning. And I used to promote Lenny's music all the time on Facebook as much as I could. And I would even be in touch with Nachum Siegel on his show to promote Lenny's music and to request Lenny's music. Um, Facebook, I think, is still very useful. Even if it's the first and it's a little outdated, it's still very useful for really being able to show the most in terms of videos. And so I do use Facebook, but like I said, Instagram seems to get more views. Twitter there are people that are very specific to Twitter that I like to post for because I know that Benny Friedman and Nissan Black do look at Twitter. So I will
Right. Right.
post there just specific for them because I think they're going to see it. But I do end up now, I use Twitter also as well for posting just because there are a lot of people that are Jewish music fans that do look, that do go to Twitter. So I've found that interesting. There's a lot of humor there as
Twitter is
well.
an interesting place. Now,
It
I will
is.
tell you that
It
it's
is.
also it could be a dark place because, you watch a lot of people criticizing other people. You see that more than on Facebook and more than on YouTube,
I
which,
understand. Yeah, I understand that.
you have to be really careful because the thing is, everybody don't judge people on these
I
sites.
hear you. I hear you.
If you can't say things that are nice, you shouldn't
Don't
say
say
them.
anything at all.
Yeah, because it'll come back to get you in the end. It'll come back to
I
get
hear
you.
you.
And
I
I'm not
wanted.
talking to you, Judy. You don't do that. You don't badmouth anybody.
I
But
try not to. You should know I try. I try
I
very hard
know.
not.
So what I'm trying to
But
say is that for everybody out there, though, Twitter can be a really good thing, and it could be a
it could be
really
a negative. I hear
really
you.
negative. But I like it. I tell you, I have 4 handles. I have at Lenny Solomon,
Yeah.
at Schlockrock, at Four Corners Project,
Okay.
and at Daniel in Babylon. I
Oh,
have 4 different
on
Twitter
Twitter as well.
handles. No
So
burner accounts. You know
if
what a
I can,
burner account is, by the way? Is a burner
mm,
account is a fake Twitter account where you troll people. I don't do that stuff. I don't
okay.
have time to do that, everybody. I don't have time to do that.
That's
Because
another story. I will take you up on the YouTube mention because YouTube I've used. I found a way that you can save videos to YouTube, and I have several different channels, and I try to let people know when I want to talk about Jewish music. I stop people at the grocery store and in the parking lot to tell them who to look at for music and look up Judy's Jewish Music, which was my first YouTube channel. And I don't even know now, I'm somewhere between 400 to 500 Jewish music videos that I've added. Those are,
wow,
all
that's a
videos that I
lot.
really enjoy. I mean, I don't add everyone, I add things that I enjoy. And I will tell you, I started a Judy's Acapella channel
Wow.
for this season. Now, Judy's Acapella channel will have acapella as well as Torah anytime, or as well as podcasts, meaningful people podcasts,
I must
living
say that
L'chaim.
Torah Anytime is a fabulous thing.
It's
Just a
Baruch
fabulous
Hashem, especially
YouTube thing. I've been
what
watching a
we
lot
need.
of Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein,
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
Zichrono, Zecher Tzadik Levracha. That may he rest in peace. There are some great videos on there. I just have been watching the whole week. Some great videos on
yeah,
there.
it's useful. I include Torah talks from Harry Rothenberg, and I include a lot of Torah and a lot of a cappella music. So if you're interested in Judy's a cappella channel, I actually separated all of my most upbeat music and made a channel for Judy's Jewish Jams. So Judy's
Wow,
Jewish
you really
Jams.
we have to have now we're gonna have to make T-shirts. Judy's Jewish Music. We're gonna have to do T-shirts.
I'm glad you mentioned that, but I just want to mention somebody actually asked me for a stream, for a whole playlist of the most upbeat music. So there, I'll give a plug. Yad Leah has been shipping clothing from America to Israel to provide in Israel clothing shops for those in need. And now with Ukrainian refugees coming, it's especially in need. So I provided a playlist of the most upbeat Jewish music, and that's why I created Judy's Jewish Jams.
Well, I
Um,
must say that it's unbelievable, Judy. I mean, you're doing way too much. You're-
way too
when do
much.
you sleep? When do you sleep? Do you
I may actually, if I don't promote something, I'll get some sleep, which may have to happen tonight. I try to promote one or two things every day and night. Now that I'm not working for a radio station, this is the way I get music out there and try to bring attention to
So I
singers.
got to
Because
tell you something. We got our first comment.
uh,
Somebody named Charity. Oh no, that's Charlie J. Charlie J says I found most of my Jewish music on Spotify playlists. Now that is very interesting because
yeah,
I use Spotify to listen to the classic rock of the 70s and 80s. You
okay,
know, but maybe I gotta start putting Jewish music in there. And obviously I've got my albums are on there, not the Schlock Rock parody albums, but the Lenny Solomon original albums are all there. and a Shabbat in Liverpool is on there. J Rap City is on there. Uh, the 30 out of the 39 albums, I think around 20 of the albums are on there. But
So I'm glad you mentioned Schlock Rock. I will tell you that I am a big cap wearer. I didn't wear it today for the interview, but Schlock Rock caps are worn all the time around here.
that's so nice. That's so
I
nice.
appreciate it.
We're gonna have to make Daniel and Babylon baseball caps soon, so everybody will be able to get that. Listen, Judy, you
Man.
know that we've already been on for 30, looks like 35 minutes, 36 minutes. Wow. Unbelievable how time flies. And this was a very different show because we really didn't discuss the music portion as more than we discussed the promotional. You know how important it is, artists out there, I'm talking to the artists, when you make an album, if you do not promote it, it's as if it never existed. You have to think about that. Judy always lectures me, in a good way. She always says, Lenny, you got to promote this. If you don't promote it, nobody will know about it. And if nobody knows about it, what good is that? You spent time in the studio, you wrote a song, right? You always tell me that.
I honestly feel that's why I do what I do, because I feel like every song is a creation. Somebody, like you said, you can't choose because it's your babies.
Right.
Every music video is a creation. It came from you. It was important to you. And that's why I feel like it's important to give attention to everyone if possible. I try to tag everyone I can that's involved in a music production or video production, because everybody is doing an important job. And for me, Jewish music took over. It did take over my life, but Jewish music just keeps me inspired. That's bottom line. Why did I listen to Schlock Rock, and why do I listen to Jewish music I'm going to say 24/6. So say about 20 hours a day, 6 days a
So
week.
I
I need
let
to stay happy and inspired, and that's what Jewish music does for me.
so
I
I
stay
just say that Shirley Shaffron just wrote in and asks, what's the status of Daniel in Babylon? The status is we are in the process of getting funding for this project to make it a theatrical live stream, which means that we're going to film the musical on stage, and then it will be uploaded to a third-party film aggregate, which is like filmhub.com or bitmax.com, and then the streaming services will be able to option it, and then you will know where you can watch it. But I will tell you that the great news is that our director choreographer, Kay Cole, already has most of her staff in place, assistant choreographer, set designer, the film producer, the theatrical supervisor who supervises the budget and supervises everything. She's already got those people in place.
Thank God.
All we need is what's known as the money producer, which is the guy that produces the investors. So we're close. We're closer than we've been, and we're coming up on 10 years since I finished the first draft. So that's an unbelievable. I'm very excited. I think it's going to happen with God's help. I think it's going to happen.
And the amazing thing is, you can open up the Book of Daniel, and Lenny has really written his play, his rock musical, so close to the actual Book of Daniel.
Yeah,
You will really see it.
you will not say, oh, where did Lenny make this up? I didn't make anything up.
No.
It's actually the Tanakh set to music. It's the Bible. It's the story of Daniel set to music with a little bit of artistic license, as it were, because that's what gives it its creativity, And so Shirley says, please make sure to promote it. I've been waiting for it for a long time. I'm sure so have you. Yes, I have been waiting for it. At this point, it's the project that really is the most important to me. So I'm hoping that we'll have some good news and maybe even a release as early as either December 2022 or through March 2022. I'm hoping that we will be able to get this funding very shortly and then go right to work. So, Judy, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank
you
you so
almost
much.
40 minutes. It's unbelievable. I think that you're the best, and you are a true Jewish music promoter and a Jewish music supporter. And would you like to say a couple of things to say goodbye to the crowd?
I just thank Lenny so much for getting me my start in my passion for Jewish music and for working so hard to provide Jewish content, as you say, through music and media, because that's how I got my interest in Jewish music. And I will just add a little side note that the others who've given me support over the years that made me encourage me to continue promoting is Benny Friedman. Thank God he was the first one. He tweeted his appreciation for my enthusiasm for Jewish music, and that was terrific. That was some years ago, and then he's tweeted a couple of times more about my. He actually said I was the number one Jewish music enthusiast when I promoted him and his friend Morty Shapiro as they were celebrating their birthday. So Morty Shapiro gave me some nice props on a
Morty
rabbi.
Shapiro is an amazing guy,
Yes,
amazing guy.
I love his
And
stuff.
by the way, we have viewers from the Netherlands. Charlie J is from the Netherlands. He says
Wonderful. That's very cool. Very cool.
very cool.
So,
So okay,
Rabbi,
everybody. The next show will be Monday night. It'll be another interview. I don't know who yet, but we will see Monday night, and then the Wednesday night Lag BaOmer show, either Wednesday night or Thursday night. I'm not sure which one because truth is, if it's Wednesday night in Israel, it's still not Lag BaOmer for you. So we might do Thursday night show. We'll have to see. Keep it tuned. But next Monday night, we will have another interview of Lenny Solomon live, show number 195 coming up next Monday night. Keep on shlocking, everybody. Have a Shabbat Shalom. And on behalf of the entire Four Corners Project studio here in Beit Shemesh, Israel, and we thank Judy Herzfeld for coming on. We say to everybody, have a great next couple of days and Shabbat, and we will see you on Monday night. Over and out.
take care, everyone. Stay
Yeah.
safe.